the key component to chipping is that there will be a resulting release or run at some point. But the chip shot and the chip and run shot is going to be more or less the same movement. The club determines the overall outcome. So as we're playing the shot from here, the shot looks like this. And the result is that there's some run on this golf ball. If I use a 9-iron or an 8-iron, there will be even more run. Same shot and a bit more run. There's a little bit of upslope there, so it won't run quite as far as it could. So if I want to hit it further, my next option is, of course, I'll just use a 7-iron. But I'm not going to use a 7-iron for this little chip shot, because it's a chip shot, not a chip and run. Okay, so as we're playing this shot now, physically what we're looking for is, where do I want to land the golf ball? The first question I've got is, how far is the shot? So as I pace it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's my chipping distance, 5, 6, less than 20 feet, right? But I've got a 4-yard landing zone. So I need a movement that's going to land the golf ball 4 yards in front of me. Certainly from the edge of the green to that first step is 3 to 4 yards. And so I'm going to use the 3-yard swing, 1, 2, 3, to be able to play this shot. So the shot itself looks like 1, 2, and 3, and you see the golf ball lands 3 to 4 yards in front of me. What determines where it lands, because 3 to 4 yards is quite a, that's a yard, all right? So what determines that? The speed we strike it at, the quality of the strike. So I'm looking to land the golf ball on the green. I'm not trying to make it overly difficult. So I'm giving myself a window. If I was throwing a hula hoop down on the ground, I'd throw it in this area here. That's my circle that I'm trying to land the golf ball in. Right, and so now I've got that little chipping area to put the golf ball into, and if I do that, the golf ball's got a chance of finishing very close to the hole. It may even go in from time to time. So what's the skill? That's the shot, that's the principle. What's the skill? What method are we using? First things first, we've got to get that shoulder as close to the golf ball as possible. If we only use the handle flicking from side to side, which means that the butt of the club goes forward, then goes backwards, which is not conducive to moving anything in that direction. That's one thing, all right, because the pivot point's here. But if I was going, I can't even do it, all right? If I've got the butt of the club going forward to then go backwards, that's not going to give me an effective result at any point in time. If I'm going to throw a ball, my hand goes to the right and then to the left. It doesn't go left to go right to send the ball in that direction. That's kind of slingshotting. And we don't want to be doing that. If you're wondering why you're here, now you know. The golf club's going in the wrong direction to hit the golf ball in the right direction. So when we're moving the club from side to side, all we're looking to do is to move the handle to the right and then back to the left. Now, the pivot point, suggested that it's right side, the pivot point's actually the left shoulder. That's what's moving. The handle of the club is halfway between here and there and there. Which means if the club goes back a yard, the handle's got to move 18 inches. It's halfway. So that's the radial point is there. So if I just do it with my wrist, it hasn't moved. Yes, I've moved the club a yard, but it hasn't moved the handle. So there's no momentum to come forward with. And if there is, well, there isn't, but if we do from there, we've got to then work out how we're going to deliver the golf club. So we've got to do something to get the club back on the ball. Whereas if we just move the handle, I don't have to think about the club head. Now, we also want the club to strike the ball around the low point in the arc, in the swinging motion. It goes up and back down and up again, up, back down and up again. So for us to get that bit right, we need to recognize where pivot points and pendulums can get involved. Pivot point, left shoulder is the pivot point. That's the critical part of the motion, and the left arm and club in this particular shot is the pendulum or radial point. That's the radial arm of the stroke or the swing. But this will be your assistance. That may not be a good assistant, right? Unless it gets close enough to the golf ball to start with. Every single golfer, almost to a fault, all right, stands too straight, square, target, and then this shoulder is typically outside the back foot, which means that we're 10 to 12 inches behind the golf ball, and that becomes the pivot point in the stroke. And there's the low point, because if this is the pendulum now, rather than the pivot wants to be here, this is the bit that keeps moving, all right? Pivots move, pendulums are static. That's the low point now. Guess what we're going to do when we come to hit the golf ball? Up, blade, chunk, a myriad of different shots. They're not going to be necessarily very, very good. All right. So what we're trying to achieve here now is to get that almost out of the equation by getting it over the top of the ball. All right. It's now over my big toe, and it's very close to the golf ball. And at that point now, that allows me to then keep moving to get that golf club as low to the ground as possible at the point where we're making contact with the golf ball. So when you see good golfers setting up, you'll invariably see them opening the body. They get set up, their right shoulder is closer to the golf ball. Now, I can tell you, I've asked countless golfers what they're doing when they're setting up good chippers of the golf ball, and not one of them ever tells me their right shoulder's over the top of the ball. So they're not even aware of it. They just do it. But the ones that don't chip well, they could be good golfers, but they don't chip well, are all struggling with the same issue, that where right shoulder, trail shoulder is way too far behind the golf ball, and as a consequence to that, we've got the club coming up into the back of the ball, not working down and forward. In fact, it doesn't always work forward, all right? It's just going to go up from there. And of course, then we counter that by chasing the club downward. And that might be your bigger issue when you come into the shots over the bunker. Because if we can work the golf club upward, not downward, right? The problem is that it has to go down because that isn't moving forward. If it moves forward, pull the club up. It all sounds very counterintuitive, but it's only counterintuitive because the challenge is that the right shoulder isn't close enough to the golf ball. And so we've got to create an increase in the radial length because the low point is here, and we've got to create low point, we think, in front of the golf ball. So it's set ourselves up so that the right shoulder's much closer, feet are very close to each other, right shoulder's closer to the ball. How close? That close, right? And then from there, as I move back and through, the right shoulder keeps going. It keeps moving in that direction. Same as if I was going to throw. Much more efficiency in throwing the ball with the shoulder moving. Yes, I can, but the efficiency isn't there. Of course I can. Now the efficiency is there as well. So we're moving everything towards the target in that manner. And again, we can do that with different clubs. So this is a little chip shot, but we can be chipping with less loft, and we'll hit the golf ball towards our further target. Notice that it's still on the ground, maybe 5 paces in front of us. And because this is uphill, this would be much more appropriate with a 7-iron than an 8-iron for the rollout. So I don't want to make this difficult, but because it's going up the hill and the green's slightly slower at the moment, we've obviously had a little bit of treatment on them, then that golf ball's just going to be struggling to roll out full distance on that. So I've got to hit it a little bit harder. And again, because it's the wrong club, as I said to you earlier, the wrong club is all about, I've now not made the right choice. I know the shot I'm going to play, I'm trying to do something that I don't need to do. If I use the right loft, then the shot becomes easier to play. Of course, I can adjust the loft on this, but I'm asking myself to do something I wasn't practicing. I don't need to be adjusting it another 4 or 5 degrees and push my hands further forward. To do that, just grab a club that's got 5 degrees less loft on it, and away we go from there. It will roll out the distance we want to go. Okay, so just to reiterate, setting up, right shoulder over the top of the ball, left arm and club almost in a straight line from there, and then from there back and through, a yard back and a yard through. It's the chipping swing, it's the 3-yard swing, if you will. It'll carry the golf ball an appropriate distance onto the green, and then you can have a predictable rollout. And then you will get to a place where you go like, that club's not going to get to the distance, I'm going to use a lesser lofty club.